Hi, Sid Kohli. Welcome to the SIGA Youth Council. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And I would like to ask you to tell us about who you are, what you do in life, and what do you expect to reach within the sports industry.
Well, Nuno, thanks very much for having me. Of course, it's very much mutual. The feeling it's an absolute pleasure to be involved with SIGA at a very exciting time for the organization, and at a time where sports integrity is as important as it's ever been before. So, as you mentioned, I'm Sid Kohli. I'm a London-based sports broadcaster. I am also the founder and chief executive of Decipher Sport. We're an upstart sports tech and content venture aiming to maximize sports fan bases globally, focusing primarily on the NFL and Formula One. Going forward, what I'd like to achieve from a professional standpoint, of course, is to grow and scale my venture, continue broadcasting as and when interesting opportunities arise. And from a SIGA standpoint, of course, there's normalizing the discourse around integrity, which is something I'm quite passionate about.
So you are involved in the UEFA AAA Academy or AAA Academy. You decided to join the SIGA Youth Council. Why and how can a young man, 29 years old, be so active? And what do you want to achieve with all these participations?
Well, I think it's passion that drives all of us in this industry. It's very much a passion-fueled industry. It's a love for sport, love for elite sport, love for amateur sport, of course, that really drives one's ambition and enables one to put themselves forward for positions at the UEFA AAA, as you mentioned, and now with the SIGA Youth Council. I think ultimately sport is both a massive industry, but it's also a very small industry in terms of a lot of interconnections. Everyone seems to know everyone. Networking appears to be key. And of course, certain organizations have some really, really good causes, which oftentimes don't get spoken about as much as they should. And I truly believe SIGA's vision and SIGA's message around sports integrity, the wider overarching framework of ensuring highest level of sports integrity being maintained, is one of those causes that certainly sparked and piqued my interest.
I don't think it's going to be an inconfidence, but while we were having this off-record conversation, you just told me that SIGA keeps coming towards you. And then you are always stumbling in SIGA every step you do. So now you are a member of the SIGA Youth Council. And what's your vision on the SIGA Youth Council? How can you help reform sport with integrity?
Well, I think I'm a firm believer in the fact that sports integrity, as lots of people who've bought into SIGA's vision would agree, is paramount to professional sport. I don't think sport exists without integrity. I think my biggest concern about integrity is that we only speak about integrity when things go wrong. And as reactive as that is, I'd much rather have a far more proactive approach where we normalize discussions around sports integrity. It's one of those things where I'm quite active when it comes to sports conferences. I'm quite active in the conference circuit. I speak at events. We constantly talk about innovation in sport. We talk about sports technology. We talk about media and broadcasting. We talk about NFTs and Web3. Why don't we talk more about sports integrity is my big question. And I believe the SIGA Sports Integrity Week, of course, does a fantastic job around bringing integrity to the forefront and ensuring that that discourse is something that is given the attention it warrants. But I still believe there's a lot more we can do. And hopefully with the Youth Council in place, you'll get lots of young professionals working in sport actively who can sort of wave the flag for the highest levels of integrity across sport.
Speaking in your words, you mentioned that we only speak of integrity when things go wrong. And that's why SIGA developed the standards on sport integrity, the universal standards on sport integrity, and serves the SIGA independent rating and verification system. I know you are passionate about all these issues, but if you had to pick just one of the four areas, the financial transparency, good governance, sports betting integrity, or youth development and child protection, which would you say that is your favorite one or the most pressing one?
I think that's a great question. I think it's a question I've thought of quite a bit. And I think out of the 4 pillars that you mentioned, which are financial transparency, good governance, sports betting integrity, and of course, youth matters and child protection, there isn't really one area that trumps the others, so to say, in my opinion. I think they're all incredibly important. Financial transparency is extremely important. Every other organization in the world, every company needs to be financially transparent. Why should sports organizations, sports bodies be any different? We talk about good governance. Again, good governance is one of those things that only makes the headlines when things go horribly wrong. And governance is one thing. If you fail at governance, nothing else really matters anymore when it comes to elite sport. That's how crucial good governance is to maintaining professional and elite sport across the world. We talk about sports betting. It's a really interesting sphere, especially in the last 5 years with what's happened with PASPA, or the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, being lifted at the federal level in the US in 2018 after a landmark case. And I believe at the moment, it of course goes state by state in the US, but I think about 30 states, so more than half of all US states, have legalized sports betting. So it's a very timely, very pressing area of the industry that does require, of course, the highest standards of integrity, which goes without saying. And then when it comes to youth matters and child protection, of course, it is as important as any of the other pillars. And hopefully through the SIGA Youth Council, we can, of course, be good sounding boards as young professionals on youth matters and further that part of the 4 pillars, of course. And I think there's a good reason why those are the 4 pillars of SIGA's Universal Code on Sports Integrity, because they are all just so crucial.
Okay, thank you very much, Sid. It's a pleasure once again to have you with SIGA Youth Council, and I'm sure with you, this team will be stronger. Thank you very much, and good luck in your work.
Thanks very much indeed.
Stop the record.